Hi, my name is John Whitehead. I'm an executive leadership coach, and welcome to my weekly video blog posts. So we continue my series on diversity, equity, inclusion. Now, stereotypes, they can happen everywhere. A stereotype is a belief and bias about a certain social group that leads to social categorization. These quick generalizations create harm by categorizing people into groups based on ideas, identities, or certain characteristics presumed about that group. Essentially, they are a consequence of groupthink that creates a divide among people. The most common stereotypes include cultural, racial, gender, and religious stereotypes. And through reinforcing stereotypes, discrimination and even violence may occur. Since stereotypes are learned, they can also be unlearned. Overcoming them involves examining the stereotype, evaluating the reasons why it exists, redefining it through a new perspective, and reflecting on our own ideas and stereotypes that we place on others. So some common stereotypes may include believing that people from certain countries are rude, lazy, or warm and welcoming. Believing that certain genders are good at driving and sports, that are intelligent or untidy. Believing that a certain race is greedy, athletic, or superior over another race. Believing that people who practice a certain religion are wise or naive. And again, a stereotype is a belief or bias about a certain social group that leads to social categorization. These quick generalizations create harm by categorizing people into groups based on ideas, identities, or certain characteristics presumed about that group. Prejudice is the negative attitude and opinion that emerges from stereotypes. These opinions are not based on actual experience or reasoning, but solely on assumptions. Prejudice is created when people view the differences of other individuals as weaknesses, which in turn will result in resentment and unfair treatment. This has a strong influence in how we interact with people who are different from us. People may be prejudiced against someone because of differences in religion, gender, or ethnicity. With this irrational mindset, there is little thought or reflection given to the judgments that are made. So what we're doing here is we're judging others before getting to know them on a deeper level. And because of the assumption that everyone who fits into a particular group are all the same. Unfortunately, prejudices will cause us to overlook chances to create interpersonal relationships or strengthen an organization. They can have a significant impact to the individual on the receiving end by causing them to miss out on many opportunities or receive equal opportunities in the world. Prejudice will often lead to discrimination. And so prejudice there is really then creating when people view the differences of other individuals as weaknesses, which in turn will result in resentment and unfair treatment. So here's some questions to ask yourself about acknowledging assumptions. What are some common prejudices about my culture, race, religion, etc.? What are some common prejudices about other cultures, race, religions, etc.? And how can I respond to prejudices? Discrimination. So where prejudice is about unfair assumptions and discrimination is the unfair treatment or actions that arise from prejudice, discrimination is the prejudicial treatment of people based on their differences or specific characteristics and can be considered a violation of one's human rights. Simply put, discrimination happens to someone based on who they are and how they are perceived. It can be manifested through biased decisions or direct behaviors towards an individual. In a workplace, discrimination can happen between employees, an employer and their employees, job applicants, and many other ways. A workplace that is lacking diversity, equity, and inclusion is likely to have discrimination on some level. Anti-discriminational laws exist to protect employees from prejudicial treatment, covering race, age, disability status, pregnancy, and other protected categories. So looking at harassment now. Now, harassment, that's a form of discrimination that consists of unwanted or unpleasant behavior. It covers a range of offensive behaviors that demean or humiliate an individual. When harassment occurs, it creates an environment that is hostile disrespectful, and intimidating. It may be a single incident or behavior that persists over time. No matter how it occurs, harassment can be very damaging to a person, as well as an organization. It can result in an unproductive and toxic work environment. Someone may be targeted for harassment based on their sex, race, disability, or age. So some examples of common workplace harassment include sexual harassment. That's behavior that uses explicit or implicit sexual implications. This compromises unwanted and unwelcome sexual comments or behaviors and sexual advances or sexual favors. The target or perpetrator of sexual harassment may be an individual belonging to any gender. Then there's verbal harassment. This is inappropriate language that is intended to cause psychological or emotional harm to another person. This may be in the form of shouting, swearing, joking, demeaning slurs, or labeling. Next is physical harassment, which in the workplace, this can be also referred to as workplace violence. It includes attacks, hitting, threats, destruction of property or belongings, and even assaults. Physical harassment is more common in organizations where employees come from different backgrounds. Psychological assessment. This is also known as emotional bullying. It is similar to verbal harassment, but more subtle, such as withholding important information from someone. Psychological harassment is an unethical way of behaving towards another individual. Disability harassment. Words or actions that bring attention to a person's mental or physical disability in a negative and do it that in a negative way. Now, this may be in the form of threats, jokes, name calling, or mean comments. So again, thank you for watching this series on DEI. And if you'd like to reach out to me about this topic or other topics such as soft skills development, see my contact at the end of this video.